Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpener and Laser Engraving. So I wanted to show you one of my Black Friday purchases. I picked this up for right around $300. It's from Grizzly, and as you look at it, you probably recognize that it looks a heck of a lot like my favorite sharpener, the Toolker, in design. But what you are looking at over here is a 2x42. So instead of a 1-inch, it takes a 2-inch belt. So it's basically a Toolker on steroids. So far, I really like what I see here. A lot of things here that I think we can do to make this an incredible sharpening machine. I did take the shields, I guess we would call these, protectors off. I've never used them on any of my machines, and you see most of us sharpeners, are always taking these off. That's my only concern about that is this one looks like it'll come off fine. I'm not sure what's going to happen with this one up here, because this one you can see, this one here is quite thin and it's on the outside, but this one is actually part of the tracking wheel. So I don't know if we'll have to make some adjustments there with the tracking wheel to make sure that this stays in the correct position, or if we'll have to put something in there. So I may not take this one off right away, but I'm pretty sure without this off, I don't know if it's going to be able to run conditioning belts. Not that that's a huge issue. I have my other 2x42 for that, but we'll see. But right now I'm going to be leaving this one off, and definitely taking this one off, and I might take this one off down here. Here's the tool rest. The one thing I did like was that you can order any of the parts from Grizzly. So a lot of times, and you guys have seen this with the Toolkers, it's not that easy to find. You can find plenty of sellers, but good luck sometimes trying to find parts. And sometimes it can be nice to be able to get parts, especially if you like to modify things like I do. And I think that this tool rest could easily be cut down so that it's the size of the belt and made really good for sharpening. Now, I do have a couple other concerns here. I have to see how things work with adjusting the belts, the belt tension. How close can we get this to this? The other option would maybe be a really beefed up kind of buckle guide. So a buckle guide that was 2 times the size, that could hook on like our other ones do, or even if you had to tap a screw hole through here, through the middle, would be another way to make this a very good 2-inch belt size sharpener. But for now, we'll see. But I think what I would probably try at first would be, one, I want to see how close can we get this to see what kind of angles we can hit. And I did order a completely another one of these because I might just try and cut one down or modify it or use some other type of attachment to make a plate similar to all the ones that we use on our 1x30s. Because the most crucial thing there, as I've mentioned many times before, if you have an angle guide that matches the size of your belt, that's perfect. Because then you don't have any part of your knife that's hitting and not able to touch that belt. Now, the other option here would be to use this as just a reference angle guide and then a free hand up top there. Now, keep in mind, this machine only goes one direction, always going to be edge leading, not edge trailing. So this motor spins and it tracks towards the sharpener. This machine is marketed as a knife maker's machine, so they're basically marketing it as a tool for beginning, I guess, kind of knife makers. I see incredible potential for this to be an amazing sharpening machine. I love where the controls are. I like that as an emergency stop. It is using the very similar motors to our Toolker over there and to the conversion that I did of the Buck tool. You can see that motor back there. I have to do a little bit more investigating on this motor, but I bet you this could probably even be switched out if someone really wanted to have this machine go both directions, you probably could swap this motor out and controller and put, one of our more like standard sewing machine ones on there. Now, I'm not going to bother with that because I have my other machine, and if I have to go edge trailing, I am just going to use the other 2x42, and I'm going to do all edge leading sharpening on this. So this, I don't foresee myself taking any of the motor apart, the drive wheel, or any of that, but it looks to me to be very much like a standard sewing machine style motor. And the only other reason I wanted to point this out to you guys is this machine is on sale right now for $300. It's normally closer to $400. It's a good time to pick it up. Originally, when I purchased mine, it looked like the sale was ending on the 2nd, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to review it first and then have anybody be able to take part in the sale that Grizzly was having. But now I see they extended it until I think it was the 18th. Now you can kind of get a look at mine here, get my first impressions of it. So far, I like what I see. What I do, here are my areas of concern. I think the tracking wheel is a little hokey up here. So it's like a long, thin screw, and their lock is just a wing nut. I feel like that, does it work? Yes. It's adjustable. You can see it kind of swings up and down. And then I guess they expect you just to turn that wing nut and lock it in. I don't know that that's the greatest design in the world, but, we'll see. Hopefully that stays locked and how that is. I don't necessarily love this, this hinge concept. And I don't like that they made it so that we could take every guide off of here, but they left this one. Looks like your options would be cut this and keep that piece in there because you're going to need that top piece. But, I guess we could cut those welds. We could take this off, take that piece out. But you can see that? That is welded. So that top piece is welded onto there. So we could either cut that right along there and just get rid of that, which would probably be the easiest, rather than trying to come up with a whole nother design for that. But the rest of them look like, this one's on the outside. It should be able to come off. This one's on the outside. It should be able to come off. And I had no problem getting the one covering the drive wheel off. Came off no problem. I do like the shock absorber for the belt tracking and release. It's nice and strong. It's not weak at all. That's well built. The whole machine can turn on its side and grind sideways. And that looks like it's really set up nice to do that. That's why I'm not going to destroy this and modify this right away. That's why I ordered another one of this piece right here. It cost me around $40 because it was... They had it down as 3 separate parts. I don't really understand why they said that because it looks here to be 2, but they had it listed as 3. So it looks like, I guess they were selling this part, the top part, and the arm. I really kind of think this should be one piece, but that's how they were. It said 3 parts, so I'm guessing they were figuring 1, 2, and 3. So I ordered a whole nother one of these so that I will always have the original. So if I destroy it in my modification attempts, or, we'll see how that goes. I do wish that this weld was lower. So if this weld was all the way down on the edge, if this was attached at the lowest edge, we could cut away more up top. And it attached down at the bottom. So probably pretty easy. People that are good with machining parts and making stuff could probably very easily, build the exact same thing that had this at the very bottom so that this could get, as close and have as much of this plate exposed without this stuff getting in the way. And that's my only other concern here is you can see how incredibly close this is, and that won't go in any further. Sorry, I'm not working on a tripod right now, and I probably should be. It might be possible, but I don't like how close that is. That's really close. We don't want it rubbing on that belt at all. But if we can get this like this, and then cut away a good portion of that in an L to have this matching the belt size, man, what an incredible sharpener that will be. And I'm pretty sure we can do it or figure something out. Just because of the design, it should be fairly easy to work with this. All right, so let me show you this. It doesn't have a complete off. So it has this emergency stop, which is the simple twist kind. This is the kind I put on my lasers where you can hit it and it'll stop. It has a stop button, but you'll see it doesn't turn this off. I thought that was interesting. And I don't see a off button anywhere that shuts everything off. So it looks like this just continues to go on and on and on unless there is a off button here that I am not aware of. And even throwing this to off, that doesn't turn that off, and this doesn't click off, doesn't push or pull. I don't know. I'll have to look and see if there's any other way to turn that off, but it doesn't seem like there is. So there's start, and then you just turn the knob, and oh, that's because I had the emergency off on, so let's turn that off, and there you go. You can see. So it's in 100 RPMs. So there's 1500, 16, 17. 17's about where I like to run it. I'm going to just turn it down so you can hear me better, but you can see it's running nice and smooth. And tracking and all that seems to be working well, even though I think this is a little hokey. But you can see it does adjust, seems to adjust just fine. And I can run it a little off the platen to the left side. And as far as the shield will let me, I can run it in this direction, a little bit that way. And then we got this little wing nut just to, I guess, lock it in place so it doesn't move on you. Our biggest challenge is going to be the tool rest area and designing some sort of angle guide for this. But other than that, I think a straight piece of bar and not a curved one here would be very helpful. We could get this out and get it right next to here. And then, like I said, if we built one of these where the weld was at the bottom and we only had, and we exposed, let's say a good 2 inches down. If we could cut this so that we have this exactly the width of that belt, this will be very interesting for sharpening. If you are interested in it like I am, I do got to spend a lot of time on how I'm going to get this to work exactly for sharpening the way that I like to do it, which is guided. But, even for now, I could definitely feel like I would have no problem free-handing on this relatively easily on here, even with just the way it is right now. Using this kind of in the Ken Onion way of as just a guide for your hand. So we would let's zero our angle guide out there. All right, let's see. So that's pretty high, 45. So yeah, I mean, no problem. I could easily get this adjusted to be, whatever I wanted. And kind of lock that in and then just go from here and then come up here and freehand it. But this is the main thing here. Yeah, I would, if I could build an angle guide for this, or a buckle guide that could, could slide in that gap up top there, just like our other sharpeners, I think that would be ideal. For $300, this is a really well-built machine for a 2x42. I think it feels far better than my buck tool over there. even before I cut it down. This thing is very sturdy. This is very nice steel. It's got a pretty good feel to it overall, as far as like, it's a hefty machine, which is nice. You know, you want that in a 2x42. It's different on a 1x30 when you're doing kitchen knives, but sometimes on a 2x42, you're putting, you know, a lot bigger things on them. You don't want it to push over. That was why I was never a huge fan of doing like lawnmower blades and machetes and things like that on 1x30s, because I just find them to be, you know, a little too light for that kind of work. Those bigger items are when I like to use a 2x42, or if I had something even bigger. But, you know, for me, in my shop size, 2x42 works really well for me. All right, so I took off the guides here. They're super easy. I just unscrewed these nuts here. They actually give you 2 wrenches to be able to use with this. Let's turn it on and see. That shouldn't have affected the tracking at all. It didn't. And that should give me the ability to run this a little bit left and right of each wheel. And that's as far as I can come over left. Right, I have a lot more play, but that's good. I can run it off of each side. So I'm happy to see that. And let me show you something I noticed. This could be interesting. So we have these 2 protective shields, but look at this one. This one's almost the shape of an angle guide. And look what we might be able to do. We might actually be able to pull this and maybe put this in between or out here as a potential angle guide. So we might even be able to use this piece to build us some sort of angle guide. And we also have both of these nut areas where we could attach to do, you know, maybe something similar if we wanted to do it, because even down here would work really well. I love it, you know, mostly in the middle, but I love when you can take a part that you don't need from a machine and use it somewhere else. And I think there's definitely some potential, at least even if it's temporarily, to use this piece right here, this, well, it was a shield, this wheel shield that we don't need, and turn that into a guide for sharpening. So that could be very cool if we could do that. I think we could use this because this is tight, but it's not, you know, crazy tight, as you can see, because it's designed to swivel. So everything, so you can adjust the angle of this platen, and we might be able to get this in here. I don't know how difficult that will make adjusting it, but we'll see. But yeah, that might be something I decide to play around with to see if I could turn that into an angle guide. And if you guys have any thoughts, or just from what you're seeing here, definitely let me know what you're thinking. Okay, so here is a fine Scotch-Brite. I was able to get it on, and it looks like it will run. It is touching, for sure. It's touching up here, but if you look, you'll see it's just barely touching. You know, we wouldn't even have to cut off the whole, even if we cut just the front part of that plate. And I know Cliff Curry might tell me, you know what, just get your coarse grit out and run it for an hour, and it might thin that thing out. And yeah, you can see that. Yeah, that's running just fine. Nope, we got a little bit of dust buildup up there, but yeah, that's running fine. So if you take the 3 guards off, even if the top one, if you don't even mess with it, yeah, it's not even hot or anything. But, you know, if you wanted to cut some away, I would just cut, you know, just the front portion, because it's not, you can see it's not even touching in the back there. Or, you know, cut it off there. It's running, even with it on. So that's promising. because I really don't like to chop machines up if I don't have to. So that's good. My recommendation would definitely ditch the 3 guards, as long as you understand it's it's at your own risk. I'm sure the company is going to tell you you shouldn't run any of these machines without guards on them, but that's part of sharpening. So we want access to all of these parts of the wheel. All right, so there we go. So that's where that is, and I'm sure I'll do some follow-ups to this, but I just wanted to get this out there so you guys could see my Black Friday purchase, and we'll see how this goes. And I think it's going to be fine. Even if this ended up being almost entirely a freehand sharpener, I think it's going to work just fine. And it's just a matter of can we get someone to make a really good angle guide for knife sharpening would be awesome for this. So if we can figure that out like we have for a lot of our 1x30s, this has a ton of promise. This is a really well built, nice machine.